In February 1985, 35 people were charged with conspiracy to import drugs, money laundering, etc. It was estimated that $1.6 billion worth of heroin was shipped into the United States, specifically through pizzerias that were located throughout the country. The pizzerias were used to conduct business, even to the point of using tomato cans containing heroin as a means of transportation, hence the name, the Pizza Connection. The case actually evolved following the July 12, 1979 murder of Carmine Galante. The following story is regarding a defendant of the Pizza Connection case, Giovanni Ligammari, seen here leaving the Capri Hotel in the Bronx the day after the murders of the three Bonanno captains. Ligammari was a member of the Bonanno family's Sicilian faction and part of the hit team that carried out that infamous hit. The FBI was actually able to capture this photo by a tip from an informant who knew that the Bonannos were meeting at the motel. On May 21, 1999, a Saddlebrook, New Jersey police dispatcher received a call from a hysterical woman saying that her father Giovanni and her brother Pietro was hanging in the basement of their father's home. Pietro Ligammari, like his father, was a Bonanno member and also found hanging facing his father. He was 37 years old. Nylon packing cord was used to make the two nooses. Investigators found no suicide note and only a turned-over folding chair on the floor, as well as a half-empty bottle of Johnny Walker Red that was found nearby. Those who knew father and son said either of them showed any sign of depression. The elder Ligammari was sentenced to 15 years for the Pizza Connection case. And despite only having served 8 of those years, life in prison and being away from his family was extremely difficult. The son was married with 2 children. Both the Saddlebrook Police Department and the FBI admitted neither father or son was under any type of investigation, and added that Giovanni never cooperated during the Pizza Connection investigation and ultimate case. In fact, it was the FBI's Manhattan office who investigated the deaths, not the FBI's Newark office, which was only 20 minutes away from the crime scene. The Bergen County medical examiner ruled the deaths a double suicide and stated there was nothing at the scene to indicate foul play. The FBI's Manhattan office closed the investigation following the medical examiner's finding. Ligammari's widow or daughter were never interviewed, which is interesting. Hours after the bodies were discovered, an FBI source told his handler that the Ligammaris were killed. According to a New York University professor of clinical psychology, to choose that mode of exodus would mean that both of them would have had to create the noose and make the decision to go at the exact same time. It's such a native thing in human beings to preserve their children's lives that you would have to have prosit that both were terribly psychologically depressed. If you think about it, Giovanni Ligammari and his son both had to stand on a folding chair facing one another with nooses around their necks and push off at the same time. Could it have happened? Sure it could. Is it probable? I believe it's highly unlikely. There are many theories as to the Ligammari's deaths. One has to do with the father, Giovanni. Just prior to the Pizza Connection arrest, he pulled out of a big drug deal that was arranged by the nephew of Gaetano Badalamenti, Pietro Alfano. News of Ligammari's change of mind caused major concern not only for Badalamenti, but for Salvatore Catalano as well. Badalamenti was a powerful Sicilian boss and considered the ringleader of the Pizza Connection. And Catalano was a captain for the Bonanno Sicilian faction and who became the family's acting boss as well. The Pizza Connection case was considered an embarrassment for the high-profile defendants who basically enjoyed operating under the radar. Both Badalamenti and Catalano received 45-year sentences and supposedly became suspicious of certain defendants who received lighter sentences, such as Ligammari. Another theory is that Ligammari, after his release from prison in 1995, tried to re-enter the drug trade and ran into a problem with the Bonanno's new leadership, which would have been Joe Messino, with the theory being Giovanni Ligammari and his son were either warned or assumed that they were marked for death. I don't think it's a coincidence that Messino had another Sicilian participant in the killing of the 3 captains murdered. In March 1999, George from Canada Shasha was killed and dumped in the Bronx. The mysterious and definitely questionable deaths of the Ligammaris is not so cut and dry as far as I see it. I believe someone ordered them to be killed and either did the deed and made it look like suicides, or the father and son somehow learned they were going to be hit and decided to take matters into their own hands. If you haven't liked this video yet, please take the time now and hit the like button, as it helps with YouTube's algorithm. And for anyone looking to show their appreciation for videos like this, or more importantly, help me to continue making them, you can donate with the Super Thanks icon down below or the PayPal Cash App links in the video's description. Let me quickly remind everyone of my blog, especially those of you who still enjoy reading. It can be found at sitdownnews.com and is a paid subscription. The Pizza Connection case also had other defendants who were either wounded or killed as well. Santo Giordano, a member of the Bonanno Sicilian faction and part of the Galante hit, died in a twin-engine plane crash in July 1983. He was piloting the plane at the time and was also an unindicted co-conspirator in the Pizza Connection case. Cesare Bonventre, a Bonanno captain, was killed prior to the indictment, but a federal grand jury, unaware that he was dead, indicted him anyway. Bonventre was also involved in the murder of Carmine Galante. Gaetano Mazzara was found wrapped in a plastic garbage bag in Greenpoint, Brooklyn in December 1986. Pietro Alfano, who was mentioned earlier, was shot and critically wounded in February 1987 while walking in Greenwich Village. Eddie Leno, who was an unindicted co-conspirator, was killed on the side of the Bell Parkway in Brooklyn in 1990. On April 29, 1992, Joseph Lopresti was found wrapped in canvas and plastic in Montreal, Canada. And of course I mentioned George Sciascia in 1999. Most of these murders had nothing to do with the Pizza Connection, but others were in direct relation. Of all the murders, Giovanni Ligammari and his son's death are the most puzzling. I ask viewers to weigh in and give your opinion as to what you believe happened to the father and son. Did they jointly hang themselves, or did they have help? Were they tipped off that they were going to be killed? It's possible. But the one thing that sticks out in this story is why the FBI quickly wanted to close the investigation into their deaths. And why wasn't Ligammari's wife and daughter questioned? It's food for thought and makes you think that there's a much bigger picture, one that possibly involves the FBI.